What's up, nerds? Welcome back. We're going to try something a little bit different today. I'm not going to do a scripted, teleprompter, highly edited video. It doesn't feel authentic to the experience that I'm having here. Instead, I kind of want to take you on a journey with me. I've been a professional photographer for 10 years now, and for pretty much the entire time, I've used Adobe Lightroom as my editing software. When I bought my first camera, everyone just said, you should edit your photos in Lightroom. I didn't put any thought into it. I downloaded Lightroom. I actually liked it. I'm good at it. It is a good software. But I've recently been hearing a lot about Skylum's Luminar Neo. I first heard about Luminar Neo, 2 or 3 years ago, and I thought it was maybe a little bit gimmicky, or at least like too new to be worth trying. Like they hadn't fleshed out all the features. I probably was wrong. That's how it came across to me. But recently I've noticed some incredible photographers that I really look up to are using it as their exclusive editing software. So I figured it's definitely worth a look. So I reached out to Luminar Neo. They gave me an activation code so I could download the software. And we're going to go through it today together for the first time. I downloaded it yesterday. I learned some of the little bits and pieces so that you don't have to watch me figure out how do I import a photo? But for the most part, this is going to be fresh and new. I figured we could decipher this together and see if this software is good enough to actually replace Lightroom in my workflow. Now, this is not going to be a power user session. Of course, this is going to take me some time to learn, but I actually think that's great. That means that this is not another one of those, just cranked up Instagram filter photo editing apps. That means that this is an all-in-one powerful photo editing software. It has enough details, it has enough information in there where I can actually do professional quality edits. That means it's going to take me some time to learn, but I like that. I like the creative process of learning and growing and exploring and discovering. I don't like all of the apps where you just click a filter and then it's done. To me, that takes all of the fun out of photography. So with that all said, let's get into it. Okay, so these are the 4 images that I chose. I think they're representative. We have 2 shots here from Greenland, one in beautiful lighting, beautiful conditions. It's kind of a good intro. It's a pretty easy edit. I edited it in Lightroom, and it's one of my favorite photos I took last year. I think it'll be a good start here. I have another one with this beautiful waterfall, with this beautiful stream in front of this mountain, but it's really challenging lighting. And I did an edit in Lightroom I didn't really love, and I did a sky replacement, and it still is just okay. I'm gonna see if we can beat that record. I also put in this polar bear shot. This software is famous for being really good for portrait editing. I, obviously, with a name like Nate in the Wild, don't spend a lot of time in studios shooting portraits. This is about as close as we get, but I feel like this is a better portrait. I like bears more than I like people. This seems like a good way to practice. And then last but not least, I would be remiss if I didn't do something astrophotography. So we have a Northern Lights image in here, and I feel like that will round out the trio. With all that said, let's get started here. So double click just kind of makes it bigger. So I guess we got to click edit. There's a presets tab. I'm not going to click on that. I don't want you to click on that. That's not how we like to do things here. We like to make creative decisions ourselves. So I'm going to just click develop. It seems like the right place to start. I'm going to do this the same way I would in Lightroom, where I would just kind of bring up the shadows, bring down the highlights a little bit, maybe add some saturation and vibrance to get those colors going. Maybe warm it up a tad. This photo is sort of cheating because it just sort of looks good right out of the box. You don't really have to do a whole lot to make it look nice, but let's see what we can do to really make this thing zip. So I love the idea of this water enhancer. And now I think it's worth mentioning, if you follow me on other social platforms, you'll know that I am adamantly opposed to artificial intelligence, but I usually mean generative AI. And you'll notice on the right side here, there's a lot of little AI tags on these editing options, but this to me is the correct implementation of AI. This is actually intelligence. They're not using it to like plop a random spaceship in the sky or put things in there that you've never actually seen, images that you didn't create. This is AI doing analysis. So I did water enhancer here, and you can see it just used the AI to select the water. So it's basically something I would have done naturally. I think this water could use a little more pizzazz. Instead of making me go in with a brush and draw along the shoreline, it's just basically taking a little workload off my plate. To me, that's a beautiful implementation of AI. You're using it to streamline the creative process to help bring my vision to life rather than removing the experience of taking a photo or editing the photo. So if I just drag that up, it just basically makes it super blue. This is kind of glacial water, so I like it to be a little more green. Let's turn it on and off. You know what? That's pretty subtle. But like in a good way. Ooh, oh, you can make it not subtle. Fair enough. That's one of the trade-offs of powerful editing software, is that you can have a subtle image and then you can make it extremely unsubtle. So that's kind of up to you. You got to learn a little bit of taste as you develop your editing style. I think that's kind of cool though. It just like makes that water in the background look a little bit nicer. What do you think atmosphere does? Add a little fog? Oh, I don't like that. No. Okay. All right, so this to me is primarily a landscape shot. So let's click landscape. Golden hour, yes. Okay, so that basically just warms everything up. That's cool. Foliage enhancer. That seems like one of those things that I'm gonna love. This is a fall shot. Fall's all about foliage to me. I'm gonna just drag this all the way up. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, it just boosts the green? Well, that's kind of the wrong experience, isn't it? Oh, I can select foliage hue, so I can enhance it and then make it kind of orangey. It doesn't work very well on this. Okay, so foliage enhancer is for green foliage. Okay, lesson learned. Fall foliage apparently is forgotten about in this program. That's fine. We don't really need it. Honestly, this is kind of, that's good for me. This looks nice as is. That's an easy little edit. Yeah, that looks good. I'm happy with it. I do think maybe now the shadows are a little bit dark. Let's brighten it up a tad. Bring back some of those sun rays. You know what? Let's bring back some of the sun rays. I saw sun rays down here. Do you think it's going to be too much? All right, place sun center. Well, this is kind of easy. Look, there's the sun. Did it? Okay. Now what? Amount? Let's crank it. Oh, wow. Okay, that's a little bit much, but that's a cool option to have though. Wow, so you can just take the sun and make it a little bit zippier. And so you can just warm up like the sun itself without overly cooking the whole image. I like that. I really like that. That is awesome. Okay, good to know. I'm happy with this. That looks amazing. Let's go back. Let's try a different photo. That one's too easy. Like I said, that's kind of getting started with an underhand pitch. Let's go up into the big leagues. This photo has been the bane of my existence since the day I took it. It's like the most beautiful composition I've ever found in the wild. And we got no clouds and just kind of bummer lighting. It's hard to say bummer lighting when you're somewhere as beautiful as this, but let's give it a try. Let's see what we can do with this thing. I'm going to brighten up this foreground a little bit. That was a lot. Wow. Give it some more color. It's kind of a weird shadowy blue, so I'm going to warm it up. You know what I think is going to be the ticket for this? I see this, it says new, which is exciting, Twilight Enhancer. This is kind of twilighty. Let's goldenify it. What just happened there? Okay, didn't fully love it. Oh my God, that's cool. Whoa. That's awesome. It added kind of a pinkish gradient to the sky so that it looks like the blue hour. It looks like you've got that awesome end of day lighting. It doesn't really match with the fact that the sun is still up on the top of the peak, but oh my gosh, the potential there is outrageous. That looks a little bit better. You got that kind of golden. Let's not bring the exposure down quite that hard, but I like that. I mean, that basically took this like kind of boring blue sky and warmed it up to a way that matches really nicely. So if we twilight enhance, then let's water enhance, right? Let's bring that up. This is glacial. In real life, it was super turquoisey. All right, you got to be subtle with this because it really, you can overcook this one a lot. Let's bring the contrast down a tad. That's pretty amazing. You know what else I like about this program? I think is worth mentioning. They kept all the same hotkeys as Adobe Lightroom. So like the backslash to preview your edit versus unedited, just for quick flips between. You can use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. The brackets make your brushes bigger or smaller. They had the opportunity to change everything about this program, but instead they chose to make it accessible for people coming from other programs. I think that's not only generous for new users, but it's also a very smart business decision because it allows people to transition easily. If I was looking to move away from Adobe products, this would be a huge benefit for me. There's several programs that I use on a daily basis that I would like to find alternatives to, but learning a new video editing software, for example, feels like learning a new language, and I just don't have time to learn a new language. But this is amazing. This was like seamless. I have not been confused for even a single second of this process. That's really cool. Water enhancer. Looks kind of cool, doesn't it? I think that water's a little bit overcooked. I'm gonna bring it back down. I want it to like look nice, but do you think the foliage enhancer is gonna do a whole lot here? What if we golden hour it? Oh yeah, all right. Foliage enhancer, let's pull that up just a tad. It's fall foliage. That's honestly a pretty incredible change compared to what I did in Lightroom. Before I put in a fake sky, I honestly wasn't able to get anything that looked quite this good in Lightroom. This is pretty exciting. I definitely need to go in and fine tune it. Some of the masking around these leaves and on the riverbank doesn't look good. I don't want you to have to suffer through me trying to make that edit there, but just as like a quick and easy edit, that's pretty spectacular how easy that was. Let's, just for the hell of it, let's put a fake sky in there. Let's see how it does. Well, I mean, that's just as easy as putting in any other sky, isn't it? Now, the toughest part for any sky swap is you have to find a sky that matches your lighting. So like this one, the sun in the sky is off to the right side of the photo. Also, there's a helicopter, which I don't want to see anything man-made in my landscape photos, but the sun is off to the right side of the screen. The sun in my foreground is clearly coming from the left side, so that sun is not going to work. That's a little bit closer. There we go. Oh, that's perfect. That lines up beautifully. Wow. I'm not gonna lie, that looks pretty good. Now, one last thing for this, I think I do want to add some sun rays. Let's put them kind of over here. Give it just that little hint. That's the single coolest thing I've ever seen in editing software. All right, watch this. I'm going to do this again. Pay attention. So I'm dragging the sun center. It's just kind of a, it's a little like spot. You put it anywhere, it looks like the sun, which honestly, that looks stupid over here. But check this out. As it gets closer to the edge of this mountain, the software, the AI, I feel like this is actually the correct use of the word artificial intelligence also. The AI has determined where this ridgeline is, and it is not only masking out the sun rays, but it's actually modulating the number and orientation of the rays to match what the landscape would do to an actual sun. Like, it feels like I am creating a time lapse. That's insane. That is a game changer. It's kind of annoys me. I've spent so much time in my life doing edits like that by hand. Feels like I just wasted a decade of my professional career learning how to do this in Photoshop. Wow. That blew my mind. And then when you get it off screen, it does the same thing. Look at that. It changes the light rays to match. So if I put the sun kind of here-ish, you can find a position that matches perfectly. This is where you have to learn a little bit of taste so that it lines up correctly. But because like this has some beams shining down, but this foreground's fully clouded out. So if you do something like this, wow. We have a little bit of sunbeam. That blew my mind. That was the easiest, amazing looking edit I've ever done in my life. I'm like rethinking my entire software library right now. Wow. Okay, let's move on. I'm like dumbfounded. I don't know what to say. Holy shit. Okay. All right. That's incredible. I'm going to fine tune that, the masking around the river and stuff and fine tune this edit a little bit, but holy cow, that is exceptional. How good that looks just from that little bit of effort. Let's move on. Let's do this portrait. Let's edit this polar bear photo. I am excited about this. I'm going to crop in a little bit tighter for obvious reasons. I wasn't super close to this bear when I took this photo. I always wished it was a little bit tighter. I was at 600 millimeters. Didn't want to be much closer than that. This one doesn't need a ton of contrast and brightness and anything fancy. Honestly, should be pretty easy. I'm going to lift the shadows and bring down the highlights a tad just to balance out this exposure a little bit, give it a little bit more vibrance because I love that kind of bluish purple in the snow. And then I do think it needs a vignette. Where's the vignette? There we go. I definitely think it needs some vignette here, mostly just subject isolation. You know, the bear is the subject. I don't need the whole frame to be visible, so I'm going to tighten that sucker up a little bit. Now, the reason I chose this photo is there's a feature I heard about that I really wanted to try. It doesn't apply to a lot of my photos, but it's called the Relight AI. And you can adjust where the brightness is. So it does 3D mapping. So you can do brightness near. So I've got the bear brightened up there. But look at this. You can adjust the depth. Let's crank it to make it like pretty obvious. But it does 3D depth mapping on your image. And you can see that shadow moving to the back. Let's make it even more dramatic so it's like super obvious. It literally knows. It measures the depth of your image. That's incredible. So I can slightly brighten up the foreground and darken the background and adjust the depth. And now, look at how this bear stands out against that background. All I did was brighten up the foreground and darken the background a tiny bit, and it literally changes the lighting in my image. Obviously, you can overcook it again. You can make it a little bit silly, but overall, I mean, that's incredible. That's really, really cool. And then one final thing, treating this as an actual portrait, let's adjust the glow. Let's give it just a little glow. Let's make this a little bit ethereal. I guess let's go like classic Orton effect. Oop, that's a little overcooked. If you give it just a tad, that looks kind of nice, right? Like it's subtle. It just sort of brightens it up a little bit, but it gives it that soft glow. I do love that. And that's something I usually would do in Photoshop. I have a video about how to do it. It's easy in Photoshop, but it's cool to skip that and just have all your edits in one place. It's beautiful. I love that. All right, last image. This one's going to be a doozy. Northern Lights edits are famously brutal. It's a very narrow color band. It's dark. Obviously, you can see I slightly underexposed this one. So there's going to be a lot to overcome. First off, I'm going to brighten it up because I want to see, like, let's get this exposure kind of where we want it, right? Dang, that looks good just right off the bat. Okay, this is what I wanted to see the most, though. A little bit noisy. I was probably at ISO like 3200 here. I want to see, this is a huge one for me, how good is the denoise? Let's go to the noiseless. Ooh, it's going to do a little fancy analysis. Oh, it's still processing. All right, yeah, that looks pretty good. I like that. I mean, it's hard to compare if that's better than Lightroom's or Topaz or anything, but I mean, it's good. It looks good. I'm happy with it. Good stuff. Um, one of the things I've never loved about this image is the city glow on this mountain gives it kind of a weird yellowy color. So let's see in the color panel. Oh yes, perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for. Okay, so we click on a color. It picks the range. That is, oh yeah, okay, so you can just narrow it down. So I don't want it to be selecting like everything in the sky. That's perfect. Okay, great. And then now you can just sort of desaturate that. Yes, perfect. So now you can see how like that mountain had kind of a weird, gross yellow color. And then I am able to just basically turn it to like a nice white snow color. I don't hate seeing the light on it. I just didn't like it being yellow like that. It was kind of off-putting to me. This looks fantastic. I might crop. I don't really understand why the word AI is in the crop tool, if I'm being completely honest with you. But I do think I'm going to crop this just a little bit tighter. Let's get rid of that extra city over there. I don't mind these little sparkles. Looks pretty nice. Masking, I'm going to do a brush because I want to add a little contrast back into the sky, just to the dark parts. So I've got my brush, I've got my sky masked out here. Now let's go back to the adjustments, and I'm going to add a little contrast. It's weird that when you pull that up, it darkens it, but then with this slider, I can basically accomplish what I wanted, which is to bring a little punch back into the sky. So you can see just turning that on and off, it darkens up that in the sky. It gives a little bit more structure to it. Speaking of which, there probably is something here called structure. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit of dehaze. Yeah. I like this. Look at that. From that to that. Amazing. I'm going to be honest, that is a very impressive program. Just 4 quick little edits, pretty much my first time thumbing through a lot of those features. Extremely powerful stuff. There's going to be a learning curve, which I like. I'm not able to just plop myself right into it and figure everything out instantly, but I like that. There's also some stuff where I immediately overcooked it and I had to backtrack. I think that's cool too, because I like a powerful editing software. I like to do subtle edits, but it's good to have the capability for powerful edits when you need it. It's a bummer if your software isn't powerful enough. It's easy to just have a gentle hand with your edits. Overall, this is extremely cool. I am stoked I got to give this a try. If you like it, I've got a little bit of a link down below. It's got 10% off for you to sign up. I'm really impressed. I don't know what else to say. Thank you so much for following along on this. I'm going to post some of these on my social channels. Please follow me over there. And if you like this, you want to see more, please click like and subscribe. I'm definitely going to be doing more Skylum's Luminar Neo. I'm excited to learn this program. This is extremely cool stuff. Thank you so much for being here. As always, my name is Nate in the Wild. Until next time, stay nerdy.